Hello, everyone. My name is Sonia Keshwani, and I am from Hoover High School. My research is on the effects of air pollution on elementary school students in the Birmingham area. The objective of my research is to see how children are affected by air pollution due to their surrounding environment, which is their elementary school. It all started when my environmental science teacher showed me a video called Toxic City by the Greater Birmingham Alliance to Stop Pollution. Neighborhoods in the Birmingham area were being affected by deadly levels of industrial pollution. The communities were boxed in by heavy industry, raining soot and chemicals down on the residents and their property. People who were exposed to high levels of air pollution had a variety of adverse health outcomes, increase in the risk of respiratory infections, heart disease, strokes, and lung cancer, which affected the vulnerable population of women, the elderly, and children. While I was watching this video, I was most affected by the children who were being affected by the pollution from such a young age. This made me more interested in conducting research on elementary school children that were being affected by the pollution nearby. While it is clear that industrial pollution is a problem in these neighborhoods, it is important to provide scientific evidence in order to turn more attention to this problem. And the best way for me to gather data on this evidence is through air monitors. As I started to carry out my research, I chose elementary schools from the Hoover area in the Birmingham area. My prediction was that before conducting my research, that the schools in the Birmingham area would have more pollution than the schools in Hoover. As you can see in these three schools, Trace Crossings, South Shades Crest, and Deer Valley, that they are mostly surrounded by houses and a lot of trees. This allowed me to think that there would be less pollution near the school area and in the neighborhoods because they were surrounded by a lot of trees. And then, as you can see in the schools in the Birmingham area, Haynes, K8, and Avondale, they were not surrounded by trees at all. And instead, they are surrounded by tons of buildings and cars nearby. When I started to gather my data, the goal was to collect around 5 minutes worth of data with the Pocket AirLab sensor and walk around the school. This took a lot of tries as it was my first time using the Pocket AirLab sensor, and they would very easily disconnect from the Bluetooth. I made sure to connect the data after most of the students were picked up and the teachers left so that there would not be any excess pollution, such as cars or buses nearby. This would allow me to collect the data from outside sources other than the school. To be able to collect more accurate data, I will be going out to the elementary schools more during the month of March. When getting the results, I was focused on the air quality index and particulate matter 2.5, which are particles that are suspended in the air, such as dust, soot, smoke, and arsenals. The results that I have gotten so far with the collection of other resources have allowed me to conclude so far that the schools in the Birmingham area, their particulate matter concentration is moderate, getting to about the 20s and even a little bit higher. And the concentration was 1.7 times above the World Health Organization air quality guideline value. And then throughout the day, the air quality index would become moderate from around 60 to 80. And then in the schools in the Hoover area also had a moderate particulate matter 2.5 and air quality index levels. but the particulate matter concentration was 2.2 times above the World Health Organization. So the data that I collected concluded that the schools near the Hoover area had higher levels of particulate matter than the Birmingham schools. With the data I will be collecting in the future, my goal is to look at these differences between the particulate matter and air quality index from January to March. I will also be collecting more data on the ozone pollution from both areas and particulate matter 10. The last part of this research was to see if there was a relationship between air pollution in these places and if they have affected the students' health from each of the various places. While evaluating the evidence I have so far, it is important for me to see if students are actually affected by the pollution. I was going to look online to find health records from each county or school to see if I could find the number of students that have respiratory diseases. But it is hard to find such data online. So instead, I am going to talk to an intervention specialist at each of the 5 schools to find the overall health of the students at each school. While they might not know the exact amount of students with each specific disease, it will be good to learn about students who have these type of diseases and talk to someone who might know what caused it. The general questions I will be asking the interventionist specialist to know more about the students is for them to describe the general health of their students and for them to know places that could result in pollution. I think it's very valuable to talk to a person that lives in those areas that could identify places that have pollution and cause the most pollution. And then if their students are actually affected by the pollution nearby, and if they are, what type of diseases or disabilities do they see amongst their students? And maybe a rough estimate of kids that have these breathing issues or airborne diseases due to pollution nearby. And the last step is to compare the 2 different locations I conducted my research at to see if there is any difference between the health of the students and if it is due to the pollution there. I want to see if more pollution in a certain area will then have an effect on more students. My research might not lead to a solution to stop pollution all at once, but it can still make an important contribution to the greater good. I want to be able to understand how to conduct research on air pollution so that I can continue my research in college and expand it to other counties where children are being heavily affected by pollution. Thank you so much for listening.